People often ask me, how do you stay sober when life gets stressful? And my answer is always the same. I don't just work on staying sober. I work on managing stress and anxiety every single day. Because here's the truth. Your brain doesn't actually want alcohol. It wants relief. When you're overwhelmed, exhausted, or anxious, your first instinct is to reach for something to change how you feel. And if drinking has been your go-to coping mechanism for years, of course, your brain still thinks that's the solution. Maybe you find yourself craving alcohol every time stress hits and you're frustrated that those thoughts haven't gone away. Or maybe you've been white-knuckling your sobriety and it feels like a struggle because you haven't figured out how to actually feel better without alcohol. Or maybe you're just tired of feeling overwhelmed all the time and need some simple, doable ways to get back in the driver's seat. No matter why you're here, you're in the right place, my friend, because today I'm going to uncover the real strategy that will help you stop craving alcohol as your go-to stress relief and instead start building a life where you don't even need it. Let's get into this. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh. Listen, stress and anxiety aren't going anywhere, which means we have to actively work on managing them. And I'm not talking about waiting until you're overwhelmed to figure it out. I'm talking about building stress relief into your daily routine so that you never get to the point where you feel like you need a drink to cope. Science even backs this up. Studies show that when we intentionally practice stress management, we dramatically reduce the risk of relapse. If you don't have healthy ways to manage your emotions, you'll continue reaching for alcohol as your way to get relief. Because let's be real, quitting drinking doesn't magically make stress disappear. But when you have real strategies in place, you stop feeling like alcohol is your only way out. So today, I want you to imagine what it would feel like to not have stress send you spiraling into cravings. Imagine having the confidence to handle hard days without reaching for a drink. Imagine feeling calm and in control even when life throws challenges your way, because it definitely will. And the good news? There are a million ways to relieve stress. You don't have to do what I do. You just have to find what works for you. For me, it's journaling, meditation, exercise, watching something funny that makes me laugh, and connecting with other sober people who lift me up, and many other things. I intentionally put these things into my day so that my stress never becomes so overwhelming that I can't deal with it. Because when your stress is under control, cravings lose their power. Try different things. Ask yourself, what feels easy for me? What's something I could actually stick with? When you consistently practice stress relief, alcohol stops feeling like the only solution. When you look at my sobriety today, you probably see I'm comfortable, confident, I have clarity in my recovery, and I'm pretty in control in my life. You see someone who doesn't struggle with cravings, who isn't constantly battling the urge to drink, and who genuinely enjoys my sober life. And people say this to me all the time. They wish they had the peace and ease with sobriety that I do. And let me tell you, that certainly didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of practice, learning what actually works, and most importantly, figuring out what I really needed to be focusing on every single day to make sobriety sustainable. Because the truth is, staying sober isn't just about not drinking. If you're still finding yourself wanting a drink every time you get stressed, if cravings keep sneaking up on you when life feels overwhelming, or if you just don't feel as strong in your sobriety as you want to, then stick around because we can fix that. We're talking about how to stay grounded and remain in the driver's seat when it comes to your emotions and stress. I believe with every fiber of my being that to be successful in sobriety and recovery, you have to have a strong relationship with stress management. You have to feel like you are in control of it, not the other way around. Because if you don't, you'll constantly feel triggered, overwhelmed, and one emotional moment away from picking up a drink. When I was in the final stages of my drinking, one of my biggest struggles was waking up every day already overwhelmed. I felt dread just thinking about the day ahead of me and wondering how I was going to get through it. I felt like I was a prisoner to this life I created, and there was no one to save me but me. And I had no idea how to do that. The only thing I knew to do to feel better or take away discomfort was to drink. So I knew when I got sober, that had to change. I didn't quit drinking to still be miserable. And I knew if I wanted to feel different and have a different life, then I had to do everything differently. I wanted to stay sober. I wanted to feel good. And I couldn't do that if I was emotionally fried. If I had zero energy and was constantly overwhelmed with no solutions. Like, how would you ever stay sober like that? And if you find yourself asking, why do I feel so drained? Why do I still want to drink even when I don't want to drink? You're not alone. And it often comes down to stress. When I get stressed now, it's because I'm stretched too thin, right? Trying to do all the things, family, job responsibilities, health and fitness. There's a lot of things to do in a day. And I'm taking care of all the things, but not myself. And I bet you can relate to this too, because we're all putting everything else first. And it can feel like you have no control over your own peace of mind. And honestly, when I'm doing this, I don't even realize I'm giving that power away. When I'm in it in the moment, I don't realize I'm spreading myself too thin, saying yes to too many things, overbooking my calendar. I only recognize it when I catch myself starting to fall apart. Now, after years of building healthier habits, boundaries, mindset work, I've completely changed my relationship with stress. And I'll be honest, it took time because for a long time, I didn't even understand what wasn't working. When I thought about creating this episode, I knew I wanted to dive deep into stress in recovery, right? Not just how to handle it in the moment, but how to manage it proactively. So you're not walking around with your nervous system on fire all day long. And you know, my favorite analogy with sobriety is don't poke the bear. Alcoholism is the bear. When you quit drinking and you get that dude to go into hibernation, you want to do everything in your power to keep him sleeping soundly. Don't be poking him and agitating him and waking him up. Because if you're poking him and you wake him up, that dude is going to want to be fed. And you're going to lose that battle because the bear is strong, vicious, and relentless. He's kind of cute and you want to pet him, but he will destroy you. Anxiety, stress, negative emotions, bad behavior, all of these things are poking the bear. And when I talk about stress and anxiety, understand that there are many things in our daily lives that cause stress and anxiety. Procrastination, putting things off or avoiding things equals stress and anxiety because you're mentally beating yourself up about it. That's poking the bear. Guilt, sadness, regret, resentment, almost any feeling with a negative connotation equals anxiety because you'll think about it constantly and ruminate with negative thoughts, berating yourself, insulting yourself. And that's a hugely stressful way to live, and it's poking the bear. Being sneaky, dishonest, gossipy, judgy, all those behaviors create their own kind of stress mentally because you can't engage in bad behavior and feel good about who you are as a person. All those behaviors are poking the bear. If you get to the point of sobriety, you quit drinking, and that bear goes to sleep, that's when you shift into recovery. And recovery is healing all the things that poke the bear. I'll tell you about a client of mine in my 6-week program. When she came to me several years ago, she scheduled her free consultation call with me to talk about her situation and figure out how I could help her. And she was emotionally overwhelmed. Every piece of life stressed her out, and she was having a hard time dealing with even the most simple life tasks. This is what happens when we're overwhelmed and we don't have any coping skills for our emotions, anxiety, and stress. She literally just wanted to cry over everything because she felt lost. She felt like she wasn't capable of figuring things out, and she had no idea what to do to feel better. So our work started with just that: how to feel better on a daily basis by learning how to relieve the stress and anxiety and not let the emotions dictate her every move. And that may sound strange and not what you would expect to work on in coaching with me, but here's the thing. Coaching is figuring out where you are in your journey, what's holding you back right now, and working to dismantle that thing with various modalities so you can get to the next step of your journey. And by the way, she's 5 years sober now. We still work together and she's crushing it. She's literally unrecognizable from the day we got on our call. Learning how to deal with your stressors is a game changer because you'll never stay sober long term if you stay stressed out, overwhelmed, with your nervous system dysregulated all the time. It's just not possible because that stress and anxiety and roller coaster of emotions is going to constantly poke that bear, and eventually he's going to wake up pissed off and want to be fed. Remember, the crux of addiction is we want to change how we feel. And this is why how some of us get lured into this trap, because we rely on alcohol to manage our feelings. Non-alcoholic people don't do that. Non-alcoholic people may have a drink just because it's there, but they aren't going to have too many because it makes them feel out of control. They aren't using alcohol to get a result. Alcoholics drink for the result. We drink to numb, forget, escape, to feel happy when we're sad, to help us sleep when the noise in our heads is too loud, to help us relax when we're on edge. We use it to change how we feel. A non-alcoholic person feels out of control after a few drinks and they stop. An alcoholic feels in control after a few drinks, and it becomes our solution to everything. And that's when the bear has you trapped. Have you ever caught yourself wondering, why can't we just quit drinking and move on with our lives? Well, because you drink to change how you feel. Drinking is what you do to not feel the anxiety, stress, guilt, shame, exhaustion, grumpiness, anger, jealousy, resentment, insecurity, inferiority, unworthiness. So when you quit drinking, you have to learn how to cope with all those feelings. You have to build a toolbox full of other tools for dealing with life because you're used to just drinking to numb the feelings instead of actually coping with them and solving them and building the strength to deal with them without alcohol. Are you with me here? The solution is learning healthy ways to manage your emotions and stressors so alcohol isn't the solution. Remember, your brain doesn't want alcohol. Your brain doesn't give a fuck about a drink. Your brain wants relief. It wants to feel better. Your job in recovery is to find as many ways as humanly possible to bring yourself relief so you don't associate relief with a drink. And the key to success is to build these strategies into your daily life so that anxiety doesn't get unmanageable. If I'm doing calming and stress relieving things throughout my day, then my anxiety baseline stays around a 2 or a 3. So if something happens to trigger me, my anxiety may shoot up from a 2 or 3 to a 5 or a 6. But if you're doing nothing, running around through life exhausted, overwhelmed, and emotionally fried, then your baseline is a 5 or 6, maybe even higher. And when something happens to trigger you, now you're shooting up to an 8 or a 9. And at that point, it's really challenging to be rational. Emotion and fear and unmanageability are kicking in, and that bear is up and he is pissed and he wants a drink. You see how important this is? You have to figure out how to build relief into your daily routine. There are a million ways to do this. It is not time consuming. It is not challenging. It does not cost money. There are no excuses, right? You just have to be intentional, figure out some stress relieving, calming things. You can Google that. There's millions of things. And build it into your daily routine to keep that stress and anxiety down, keep that bear in hibernation. We do not want that dude waking up. He is very disruptive, unfriendly, unruly, and he's just difficult in general. Let that dude sleep. Stop poking him. If you've been feeling stuck, like stress is running the show and cravings are right around every corner, I want you to know this: you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't been given the right tools yet. Staying sober isn't about willpower, and it's definitely not about perfection and doing everything right every day. It's about learning to take care of yourself in a new way. A way that brings real relief, not just temporary escape. If any part of this episode hit home for you, if you're tired of white-knuckling your way through hard days, if you are craving peace and confidence in your sobriety, I can help you. I work with people just like you every day, people who are strong and smart and capable and just need some guidance and support to stop struggling and start thriving. Let's talk. Book a free call with me so we can chat about what's keeping you stuck and how we can build a plan to get you unstuck. You can schedule with me at addictionunlimited.com/call. It's not a sales pitch. It's a conversation, a chance to explore what's really going on and see how we can work together to help you feel better and get stronger and feel more in control of your sobriety in your life. You don't have to do this by yourself. Again, it's addictionunlimited.com/call. The link is always in the show notes of every episode. You can always find it there, addictionunlimited.com/call. Book your free consultation call. It's time to stop just surviving sobriety and start living recovery. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.